Big story today, though, and you heard it asked over and over again, is the New York Times publishing, and I got my copy here, of these leaked questions that Special Counsel Robert Mueller, who is heading up the Russia investigation in terms of the interference in that 2016 presidential election. Mueller wanting to ask a number of these questions to Donald Trump, more than 40 questions. They are very detailed. Basically, Mueller wants to know what Trump knew and when and who was doing what within the Trump team. Sarah Huckabee Sanders refusing to answer any questions on the story whatsoever, saying the media would have to ask Donald Trump's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, or Rudy Giuliani, former New York mayor who has recently joined Donald Trump's legal team. Neither of those men, though, are likely to make themselves available anytime soon to answer any questions to the media about that. Let's bring in CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbon, who is following that press conference there. So let me ask you about this big story in the Times, these leaked questions here. You were listening to Sarah Huckabee Sanders. What did you make of it all, Joy?
Well, that's her typical answer whenever it comes to the special counsel. I refer you to the president's personal lawyer, which now includes Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor of New York. It was what I expected. I actually thought that President Donald Trump would have taken a bit of a bite, because usually reporters can throw a question at him at some of the photo opportunities today, but he did not. Instead, he tweeted, and he slammed the special counsel yet again, called it a witch hunt, and he said that there was no crime and no collusion. And yet, you know, from some of these questions, there are about 49 of them, there's about a dozen of the questions that do go to collusion with the Russians, possible obstruction of justice. The questions are pretty interesting. One of the things that, Todd, that popped out to me was the question included there about Paul Manafort, who is Donald Trump's former campaign manager. And one of the questions to Donald Trump would be, what was his outreach to the Russians, and what did you know about it? So it's very intriguing about where this investigation is going. And certainly, as you said, it's very broad and very detailed and still ongoing.
You raise a great point about that Manafort question here, because that is really curious to see that being raised. We're going to show some of the other questions about Mike Flynn and also about James Comey. Where does the investigation go from here, Joy? I mean, moving forward now, these questions have been leaked. Now what?
You know, the president has always said that he would answer questions of the special counsel. He's eager to. He has said in the past, at least, he would even take the oath before he answered these questions. But certainly, Rudy Giuliani has spoken to Robert Mueller recently, in the past couple of weeks since he joined the team, trying to speed up the end of this investigation. It's been many, many months. We know it frustrates Donald Trump. We know it angers him. You can tell just by his tweets. He felt that he was vindicated last week when the Republican-led Intelligence Committee said, we haven't seen anything here. We haven't found anything here. And he said, see, no collusion, no crime committed. But what this may do, these questions, the fact that they were leaked, you know, it could be the next nail in the coffin, so to speak, that prevents the president from answering these questions to Robert Mueller. Certainly, we know the president goes off script. We know many times he says what he really thinks. Hence the NBC interview with Lester Holt, where he was asked about the firing of James Comey, and Donald Trump said, well, I had Russia on my mind. What did that mean? You know, there are just so many questions here. So, you know, it seems that Robert Mueller knows the answers to these questions. He would like to speak to the president. We know the president's team doesn't want him to speak to Robert Mueller. So it's just a matter of negotiations where things end up if he actually does go forward and you know, speaks to Robert Mueller in person.
Our bureau chief following it all in Washington. Great to have you on as always, Joy. Thank you for this today.
Thanks, Todd.